YouTube, Science Fiction Reads here, just with a currently reading and bit of a book haul. When I last posted a video, I had decided to start reading some Cordwainer Smith. I was going to start with the best of Cordwainer Smith, but I thought I'd try something a little smaller. So I went with Space Lords, which is a few short stories, 5 short stories, all taking place in the instrumentality of mankind, future history. These took me by surprise. I really enjoyed them and instantly picked up the best of Cordwainer Smith. There's a few of the same stories. I'm now halfway through this and I'm loving it. I've already ordered, I think it's called The Rediscovery of Mankind, which is a collection of all of his short stories that he wrote that were science fiction, which include everything in his future history. So now I would only need, and eventually I'll track down, a copy of his only novel, science fiction novel, I think his only science fiction novel, Nostrilla. Really digging this future history. Future history seemed to be my thing. Like the Ian Banks culture or Neil Asher's stuff or older stuff too. Just stories and novels that take place in the same universe. I really like that, but these, considering they were written in the 50s and 60s, are really good. Highlights for me would be, I just read The Game of Rat and Dragon, where you've got humanity's discovered how to travel faster than light by briefly entering another dimension, instantaneous travel from point A to point B. But there's some sort of entity they discover in subspace, and they have to combat that, and they do it with telepathy, partnered with cats who are traveling in their own little spacecraft beside the human spacecraft, having like microsecond engagements with these ethereal entities that are never really described, but the human telepaths kind of sense them and see them as dragons, and the cats kind of sense and see them as rats. Really short, but really good. And I'm pretty sure in some interview that Alistair Reynolds was in, he mentioned that as being one of his favorites. So I was looking forward to getting to that story, and it was good. Other highlights from Space Lords, let me get the names right here. The Ballad of Lost Kamel, that was good, where one of the major themes in Cordwainer Smith's future history is the underpeople, which are basically David Brin's like uplifted animals, but they're like a subclass of humanity. They're not even considered human, although they're, from what I can tell, they're basically humans. They look like humans. They've just got, their genes, their base stock off animals. And that story is kind of the beginnings of the underpeople finding their independence with some help from one of the lords of the instrumentality. So I'm liking this series. I'm liking the actual lords of the instrumentality when they play parts in the stories, even though they're running basically this human empire, and they're the most powerful people in the galaxy. They often have lots of empathy, although not openly. A lot of times they covertly are helping the underpeople and stuff. I'm really digging this. Another highlight would be a planet named Sheol, which was like a prison planet, not like any other prison planet story I've ever read. It was disturbing, surprising, creepy, really good. Every time I read one of these stories, I kept flashing back to the front thinking, what year was this written? Because some of the ideas and stuff you don't really see till years in the future in other science fiction. So I'm really digging this, looking forward to more. Now, in the past 2-ish weeks, I've acquired a couple different hauls of books here. Let's go through the Asimovs quick here. Lucky Star and the Rings of Saturn. Some trippy art there. I know really nothing about the Lucky Star stories. I think they might be young adult. There's several of them. Really nice copy of The Caves of Steel, which I have a nice hardcover of this, but I've always liked this cover art. This is a Fawcett Crest book, and there's a crack in the spine, but otherwise really nice. Currents of Space, I don't think I've seen that cover art before. Again, this is a Fawcett edition. Yeah, a lot of them are Fawcett, actually, the next few. The End of Eternity, The Naked Sun. For the most part, these all have uncracked spines. The Gods Themselves, which I'm fairly certain I've read, but I remember nothing. Then we've got a couple collections here. These are interesting. Before the Golden Age, short stories from, I think, the 30s and earlier. And this is book 1 and 2, or no, sorry, book 1 and 3. And there's some neat stuff in here. What's in the first one? Edmund Hamilton, Simak, Jack Williamson. So actually a lot of authors in here that I don't recognize the names of, but they're from the 30s and earlier. Looking forward to those. Earth is Room Enough, a copy I have, but in slightly worse condition, so I'll replace that. 8 Stories from the Rest of the Robots. I actually have a copy of this, but it's just called The Rest of the Robots. This one has the nice colored text block. So I don't know. I mean, it's the same. I checked. It's the same collection of stories, but slightly different cover. I probably, well, maybe I'll keep this one because it's in great shape. Some of his nonfiction, The Story of Black Holes. I actually have a bunch of Asimov's nonfiction for sale on eBay, so I might have to take that post down and add some books to it. Repost it. The Tragedy of the Moon. And the last Asimov I have one of these on eBay right now, the Hugo Winners, Volume 2. That one's kind of in rough shape. So those were the Asimovs. And a lot of my Asimovs are actually hardcover, and they take up a lot of room. I'm thinking I might start replacing those. Moving on to the Arthur C. Clarke's. Here's one I don't have in any edition. Islands in the Sky. These are, most of these are published by Signet. I really like that cover art, and it's in great shape. So yeah, a lot of these match. They're gonna look great on the shelves. The Wind from the Sun. I actually have a nice hardcover of this, but again, this takes up less space. Might try and sell the hardcovers. The Other Side of the Sky. This is a collection of short stories I wrote, or yeah, I did not read or write these. I read this a few years ago. It's one of the first Clarkes I read. Started with the short stories and then moved on to his novels. I don't think this is in as good shape as the one I have. Glide Path. This is in better shape than my copy with better cover art, so I'll keep that one. Earthlight. I don't know if I have this. I have to check. But great cover art. All of these are, oh no, these are Berkeley. No, Ballantine. These last two are Ballantine. And the last of the Clarkes, Expedition to Earth. Awesome cover art. All right, some randoms here. By P.C. Hodgel, Dark of the Moon. This is not an author I ever heard of until I recently bought the first book. This is a sequel to Godstock, which is a fantasy. I had never heard of this or the author until a local bookseller had this for sale, and I just liked the, like, look at that art. It just sounds interesting, so I picked that up, and then I saw the sequel here for $3, so I picked that up. These are neat, and I love that they're the same editions. This is from the first books that Brian Stableford wrote. I think it's the Dezeri series. It's a trilogy. I have the second and third. Here's the third, Days of Wrath. This does not look like the kind of Stableford stuff I have read, so I'm not sure if I like these, but I absolutely love that I have two good conditioned same edition ones. I'll have to track down the first. Those will look good with the rest of my Stablefords. I recently mentioned I read, what did I read? The Where Time Winds Blow by Robert Holdstock, an author I had not read before. Really loved that book. And I came across two more of his. Earthwind, which is loosely connected. There's three books he wrote that are kind of connected, you could say, but not especially. I got that, and his much more known Mythigo Wood. Really looking forward to reading this, but I don't think I'll bother until I get the second and third in the series. I think there might be a fourth as well. Just going back to Stableford for a sec, I forgot, I've never seen this before. Sometimes in these old 60s books, you'll get the ads for cigarettes, but this actually has just the same ad in there 3 or 4 times. I don't know if that's a printing error or if they're just really trying to push cigarettes on kids. Paul Anderson, The Earth Book of Stormgate. I know nothing about this. I did not even read the synopsis. It just looked interesting. I'll have to look that up. I don't know if it's part of a series. Sherry S. Tepper, Raising the Stones. This is someone I need to read. I feel like I've read something of hers, but I'd have to dig through Goodreads to find out what it was. Maybe just I've read some short stories of hers. Another author I haven't read. I have a lot of Marion Zimmer Bradley's books in DAW form in the Darkover series, which I've looked them up. I don't know if they're going to be my kind of thing, and I don't know when I'll get to them, but this hardcover, which from the sounds of it either wraps up the series or is way near the end of the series, and for some reason is co-authored with Mercedes Lackey. This was $1, and it's a nice hardcover with some nice art, some science fantasy. A random Spaceman of Bohemia, so a lot newer than anything else in this haul, I believe. I don't know much about this. It's fairly new. I just remember reading the synopsis involved a lonely astronaut on his own who starts hallucinating a giant alien spider talking to him. And I thought, that's bizarre, let's try that. At the same thrift store, I found the first volume of the Saga graphic novel. I've not read many graphic novels, but I know from on BookTube this is quite popular, so I'll try and track down more before I give this a try. Another Paul Anderson, one I've not heard of, There Will Be Time. I think this is about a boy who learns to time travel or something about his body. He can time travel and he sees like a bleak future for humanity and tries to change it or do something about it. I don't know, I looked up a quick synopsis. As you can see, it was at a bookstore for $3. And I like cheap book club editions, so I picked it up. Okay, here is my favorite find for a long time. I've been wanting this and similar books to it for years now, but they're kind of expensive and hard to find unless you want to buy them online, and then you got to pay shipping. So I've been hoping to find them in the wild. There's no dust jacket, which sucks, but it was $1, so it was so worth it. Spacecraft, 2000 to 2100 AD. Some of you will know what this is, by Stuart Cowley and various artists. It's basically a showcase of art, science fiction art from the 60s and 70s. A lot of these are from book covers. Here's one. I think this is on a Larry Niven book. I might even own it. So this book has just a bunch of different science fiction art and then stories that have been interpreted from the art. And it's basically framed as kind of a, I think it's like a tour around the galaxy, looking at these different wrecks and old spacecraft that have played part in this fictional future history of humanity. I think that's on a Philip K. Dick cover, maybe a Vernor Vinge cover. I could be wrong. There's a lot of books from this era in the 70s that were in this series and others similar. This was on a cover for, I think, Dream Ships or something by Melissa Scott. I'll have to look up. It was cyberpunky, but it was not a great book. So I've been looking for this for a long time, and I just want it for the art. I am gonna read it, and I'm sure it'll be interesting. Yeah, like, this is obviously the Hooded Swan from Brian Stableford's space opera, but here it's got, you know, a whole fictional story about the role it's played in this future history. And there's another picture of it there. I really look forward to looking through this. It is irritating there's no dust jacket, but I mean, the book's in great shape and it costs practically nothing, so I'm very happy to find that. And last but not least, something I've been curious about for a while and finally pulled the trigger, The Promise of the Child by Tom Toner. I was further motivated to look into this after watching Stephen Andrews' interview with the author on his channel, the Outlaw Bookseller. This is some hard science fiction, space opera, far future stuff that I'm going to get to soon. Probably not as soon as I thought. I thought I'd start it instantly, but I am really digging the Cordwainer Smith, so I'm going to keep up with that. So I think that'll about do it for this video. Once again, I've got a bunch of new books I need to find places on the shelf for, or box up in the closet for now. And the unexpected bonus of finding a new author who I'm really enjoying. I'm looking forward to that book arriving in the mail, The Rediscovery of Man. And at some point I'm gonna have to track down a copy of Nostrilla, his novel, and probably do a video just about my experience reading his stuff. As always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.